and welcome to the Friday night edition of Animal World Live with me, Brent Leo-Smith. We've got an exciting show packed full of spotted cats for you tonight. We're going to be focusing on one of our favorite big cats, the cheetah. Hello, welcome everyone. Let me get some hellos out of the way here. Hello Marcy, hello Linda, hello Kelly, TJS, Woodard, Cheetah Kim. Yay, I'm sure you're going to be very excited today, Cheetah Kim, because we are going to be talking all cheetahs. Obviously, after we get through the normal parts of the show that I'm sure a lot of you have come to love. Nomadic Ramblings, Betty, Julie, Shamsung, Butterfly, Darlene. Lots of wonderful people with us tonight. Very exciting to have you all here. So think about cheetah questions. Keep them for the last part of the show. So we are going to be discussing cheetahs in depth. And I'm quite excited about that. I know a lot of you are big fans of cheetah. Okay. Redstone Prime, the days of the show are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, just a little reminder, and I'll remind you again a bit later, that on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central African time, The Tale of Two Mothers will be coming out, episode 9. So get excited for that. And what do we got? Hello Darcy, hello Vicky, hi Kalena, Octo Girly, nice to have you here. Joy, also great to have you here. Jordan, nice to have you back. And of course, we're going to move along now into the next part of the show. And Kathy, I won't forget you. Hello, Kathy and Ohio. And sorry if I don't say hello to everyone. Bob, Sir 50, because it's time to have a look at what wonderful creatures have been visiting our live bush cams. And we've had a bit of rain, so I'm always listening to the radio in case there's an exciting sighting we can rush off to afterwards. That round, exciting sighting. Yes, anyway, so the live bush cams, it's been a bit quiet due to the rain, but they've always something to see. And what have we got first up? Now, we've got an animal that I absolutely adore, and we are very, very lucky that where we're staying at the moment, we hear them almost every night. And that is, of course, the black-backed jackal. And Charles can actually probably do our best jackal impression. We're going to have to get him doing that on camera one of these days. Oh, wow, wow, wow. I'm sure his ears picked up when I did that. So we're very lucky. There's a pair of jackal that live just behind the house. So great to have them around. And it's always nice to see them, even though the spider decided to make a, what do you call it? A photo bomb or video bomb. And there's a little spider very close to the camera. Or was it something the spiders caught? I'm not sure. So very, very cool to have a black-backed jackal. And of course, those of you who've watched Animal World Live have realized that there is an ongoing reintroduction program with the jackals. So that is very possibly one of the jackals that was released earlier. Not the ones that are in the Boma currently. Those will be released very soon as lockdown's over, in fact. And the soft opening it'll be a soft release where you sort of drag meat around, leave the gates open, and I hope they all just come out. And then if they don't, we've got to go walk around there and chase them out. But hopefully they come out without having to be chased. Okay, and for the birders, we've had some bird action at the Critter Cam. And let's see if any of the birders can identify which bird this is visiting. Isn't that beautiful? And coming to have a nice little bath, probably. They do enjoy a good bath, this particular bird. Quite a common bird, but very, very spectacular nonetheless. A quick drink and dart away. Now, I'll wait to see. Let's see if anyone's got any. Betty, you definitely do hear a cricket behind me. Very nice, beautiful sounds out here. Redstone Prime, yes, the boma that the jackals are in is the same one that the wild dogs were in. Okay, so, and what have we got next? Aha, one of our favourite little critters that comes to our critter cam quite often. We've got a lovely pair that actually live close to the house, and it's the boy. beautiful little male duiker, or Grimm's bush duiker. Now, I've got a little bit of a fact about duikers that I'm sure most people don't know. And did you know that they are the totem animal of the Khama family in Botswana? Now, the last president was a Khama, the first president was a Khama, and many, many moons ago, during the 1800s, the Ndebele tribe, which are based in Zimbabwe, which are an offshoot of the Zulus, used to raid the Tswana people's cattle, and the future king of the Khama tribe, or the Tswana tribe, was beset by a group of Ndebele warriors, and they chased him and chased him and chased him across some of the open plains that are in the sort of eastern side of Botswana, towards the Makgadikgadi salt pans, and it's very open grassland. And then you have a very specific thorn tree, a hebeclava, or a candle pod, or it's probably changed, not an acacia anymore. What's the new word? I can't remember. Moving on. And because their seeds, their seed pods actually stick straight up, and they form these thick, impenetrable tangles. Lions like to sleep under them, cheetah, leopards, all sorts. So young Prince Khama was being chased by the Ndebele warriors, who would have wanted nothing more than to kill him and send the Tswana people into mourning and whatnot. And he became very important later on in the history of the Tswana people, and worked with Moffat and Livingston and all sorts in the forming of what is now Botswana. And he dived into one of these thickets because he was just too tired of running and couldn't run anymore. And he got into the thicket, and lying right next to him was one of these little grey duikers. And the Matabele warriors basically came to every one of these thickets and, put their spears in it, made a lot of noise, and popped their heads in it. And as they approached the particular thicket that young Prince Khama was in, that duiker decided to get up and run, and the Matabele warriors went, well, if the duiker's hiding in there, he's definitely not. And they moved on trying to find him, and he obviously survived and became a very important person in the history of Southern Africa. And there's a little bit of a history lesson about the grey duiker. And well, we'll move on to, I know what is one of your favourite animals, a lot of you, and it is of course the tallest land mammal in the world, and we're very lucky. We see lots of them here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Here are some of them at Seskant. For those of you wondering what Seskant means, it means 6 sides. You can see that waterhole has 6 sides, and they're enjoying a good drink. And then at Boskamp as well, look at that. We are fantastically blessed with so many giraffe in this area. So we're very, very lucky to have these fantastic sightings of big groups of giraffe. I think the biggest group I counted since we've been based out here on lockdown was over 30 giraffe in a journey or a tower, depending on what you would like to call them. Some people say journeys when they're moving, and towers when they're standing still. I don't know. We're going to have to wait, and I can't let Brian escape without a few more collective nouns. I didn't use them all last time. Okay, so isn't that great? And speaking of young Brian, it's time to catch up with him. Oh, nearly!
Almost
on time. Welcome, Brian.
Hello, Brent. Hello, everybody, yet again. On this wonderful Friday afternoon. Oh, evening. Sorry.
Evening, yes. It is evening here. It is dark behind us.
Yes.
You are wearing your glasses. I'm hoping you can see that it's dark. Otherwise, I'd be a bit worried.
I can pretty much see it. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Brian.
Yes.
Trees.
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 Yes. What lovely...
Okay, so our audio's still working. We're just having a bit of a glitch. Wium's going to restart that and fix it. So, Brian.
Yes.
Trees.
Hello, everybody. Well, lovely little comment.
Yes, Cheetah, Kim, Bush Baby, Butterfly. Everyone's saying hi, Brian. Shamsung, your most embarrassing moment so far before we get to the trees, Brian?
Definitely has to be the time we were on the Badger, and it was very quiet. I don't know what sighting we were at, but it was dead still. And it was Charles and I on the back, and I remember looking to a tree that clearly had thorns on it, and I said to Brent, "Hey Brent, is this a false thorn?"
Yes, that was quite funny.
Yeah, I think that I went red immediately because I obviously knew it wasn't a false thorn.
I think I did one of these.
Yeah.
Have I taught you nothing? I've failed.
Yeah, there have been many other times, but that's got to be up there with number one.
Was it your birthday yesterday, Brian? I think, Anna Marie, you're thinking about Brian Joubert, whose birthday it was a few days ago. Not this Brian.
No, my birthday's very far in the year.
There we go, fixed. Andre is calling you, you might know Andre Willemse, if he's calling you Brandewijn.
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so what tree are you going to tell us about?
The one tree I love that I'm going to tell you about today, I think it's got to be my favourite, besides the Ziziphus that we learned about on Wednesday. It is Addissonia digitata.
Addissonia digitata.
Addissonia, and that's the baobab. I've been reading quite a bit about it, and it seems like this tree is the tree of life. It gives water, it gives shelter, it gives food, it gives myths and legends. It's a wonderful tree. So, yeah, I think that's... And we have one right here.
Yes, a little one.
A tiny one.
Yes, definitely planted though.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's we do get baobabs naturally occurring in this area. Unfortunately, none on... the Rietspruit. It's just a little bit too wet. Literally, if you go not even 2 kilometers further to the north, the rainfall is less, and the baobabs on that big road into Hoedspruit, you see all the big baobabs.
Awesome. So yeah, that tree. The fun fact about it is that people make things in the trunk because it's so big.
Yes,
I think
bars. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 bars inside baobab.
Toilets, and apparently there was a small dairy farm that operated in it as well.
And a jail.
A jail
in Zambia. There is a jail in a baobab in. Let me just. I have been to this village. It's just outside Livingston.
Okay.
Makuni village.
Yeah.
There is a jail.
Incredible.
It's the drunk tank. Literally, it's baobab with a steel grate, and if you get too drunk, you get thrown in the drunk tank.
That's awesome.
It doesn't smell very nice inside that baobab.
I can imagine.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, if you're stuck in the veld, you're a bit lost, you need water. The water collects in those big what do you call it?
In the crevices.
In the crevices, yeah. So great water source, you can eat almost every part of it as well.
Yeah, and the sand actually used to carve into to make water troughs and stuff like that. There's an amazing one on the edge of the Machadikari salt pans in Botswana that has fallen over but kept growing.
Okay.
And they've cut literally a perfect square water trough, and then they cover it up and stuff like that.
Yes, awesome.
And the fruits you can eat.
The fruits you can eat.
Make yogurt with.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've got a question for you about baobab.
Yeah.
What animal pollinates them?
Well, it's got to be the honeybee.
No.
Is it something small like that?
No, quite big. And they're mammals.
Monkeys.
No.
Okay, I'm not gonna keep guessing and bore the viewers. I think you'll.
Bats.
Bats. They eat the fruit.
Well, they actually certain of the bats go for the nectar, and then they spread the pollen and whatnot between.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so they're a very interesting tree.
Yeah, I also love the fact that a lot of the African tribes believe that the tree is growing upside down. So the roots.
Do you know why?
I don't, and I'd love to know actually.
It was because it was a boastful tree, and he thought he was better than all the other trees in the bush, so the creator just turned him upside down to make him look ugly.
Classic.
Yeah, so that's and in the Venda culture, they're giants. The trees are giants, and when they wake up, we're all in trouble. So they're sleeping giants, basically, in Venda culture.
Isn't that fun? That's so cool.
There's a lot of baobabs we can talk about for hours. Okay.
I love it.
Now, we do have a little bit of sad news.
Yeah.
It is a little bit sad news.
Unfortunately.
So Brian is going to be going back to his family. He's been with us for 3 months now.
3 months.
And he's missing his mom.
I can't deny it. I am missing my family.
Yes.
I've spent a lot of time away from them, and it's not the end. I'm definitely want to make my way back here one day. So we'll see where the world takes me. And for those worrying about my movements, I've got permission to go straight home. Just
He has special permission to go home during the lockdown.
Yeah.
So, so we managed to throw together a little farewell video for young Brian.
That's very cute of you guys.
We've got a track here that Brian's got to try to figure out.
Just a warning. We couldn't see where they were in the thickets.
I'm actually growled at and charged by a lioness. How are you feeling?
Exhilarated. That was very, very cool.
Here we go. Well, from the Painted Dog team, I'd like to thank Brian for his time. His effort has been incredible. The amount of thorns that have perforated his body in his short time with us has been astounding.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable 3 months, guys. I can't thank Eggsy and Wium and Charles and Brent enough for this life-changing experience. Xander just told me now I came here a city boy, and now we walk with lions on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Incredible. This has really been a life-changing experience, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. So guys, thank you so much. And the support I've been getting from everyone else out there, it's been heartwarming.
Well, as I say, there's always a space for you back at Painted Dog TV.
Thanks, guys. This is appreciated.
Huh?
Needs to finish the dog dinner sign.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got.
Gonna have to you can bring it out.
Yeah.
He's got. Oh. Dear Brian has started making this.
So
is it on that side?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to finish that and bring it back to us.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'll take it home. I'll make it look nice. I'll re-engrave it.
So you did this with a magnifying glass.
Yeah, and it took me forever. Each letter probably took about half an hour to do with the magnifying glass.
There we go. So So you take that home,
I will definitely.
and you got to bring it back. It's going to force him to come back.
Absolutely.
So we're very sad to be losing you, but we understand completely.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll see you again in the not too distant future.
Absolutely, I can't wait. Cheers, guys. Cheers,
Thanks so much. Bye, Brian.
Bye.
Who am I going to terrorize now? Xander, watch out. No, I'm joking. Charles, watch out. Yeah, Charles will love it. Charles. Yeah, Xander bites back. I feel him commenting in the corner. Oh, no, I've made a mistake here. VM will shout at me. Aha! Okay, so we just said that tonight's episode is all about the spotted cheetahs, and we're very excited to chat more about them. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of cheetahs in Africa and the Middle East, let's just show you some wonderful times we've had with cheetah. Okay, that was wonderful. We've been incredibly privileged over the last year to literally follow the lives of two cheetahs. Every week, almost every week, we've been able to see them. So it has been very, very special, although they have given us the runaround sometimes. Now, as I said, if you've had any cheetah questions, now is your time to get them through. But I'm going to start talking through some of the facts about cheetah, and I've been doing my homework to make sure I'm not talking absolute nonsense. Now we've got a few maps we're going to show you. So historically, cheetah distribution was over a wide part of Africa and Asia, and even into India, and they've become, over the last 100 years, their range has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk till now that there are less than 7,000 wild cheetah left in the whole world. Thank you, Yvonne. So it's sad, but also in some ways, cheetah will. It's quite a difficult one. Cheetah might possibly be one of the failed arms of the evolutionary tree. There have been many animals that have gone extinct without human interference in the past, and if anything, in the last 100 years specifically, the cheetah numbers, in southern Africa especially, have actually been helped by human beings for lots of different reasons, and sometimes not as intended. The main priority was to save cheetahs. As an unintended consequence, the cheetah numbers in places like Namibia have risen due to the eradication of lions and hyenas and leopards, which obviously are bigger and stronger and are a problem for an animal that is slightly built as a cheetah. So there is a possibility that cheetah have become so over-specialized that eventually, even without man destroying habitat or over-hunting them, they would be outcompeted by the other larger, more adaptable predators. Now, in getting that incredible speed that they have foregone a lot of their strength, and that has been one of the biggest problems, which makes them vulnerable on a carcass like this around to hyenas, leopards, and lions, who are all able to kill them quite quickly. Now, when cheetah feed, and old MP is doing it here perfectly, they almost always start at the rump, which is the most meat for the most reward. So they will eat the rump first, and if they have to abandon the carcass to another predator, they are able to, and they've managed to try get as much food as possible before they have to abandon that carcass. Nomadic ramblings, great question. I'm going to get to that a bit later in the discussions. We're just going to take a few quick questions if we've got some nice ones here. There's some questions about the collars. So the collars on those cheetahs are actually going to come off in the not too distant future. So when an animal like a cheetah that has a large home range, as a general rule, gets introduced into a new area, particularly a fenced area, the collars are put on to monitor the movements to make sure they don't move out of that area. You must remember we've got commercial game farms, we've got commercial citrus farms all bordering the reserve here, as well as people. So if a big cat gets out, it can cause quite a lot of panic. So the collars are just there for the initial 2 years to make sure they don't go wandering too much. And of course, that is part of the deal when you are introducing animals like cheetah. The Endangered Wildlife Trust needs to monitor their movements, wants to know what they're doing, see how they're doing, if they get killed by lions and very quickly. And if we don't know, then we can't be proactive about it. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, I don't like the collars on cheetahs. Again, I would much prefer to see cheetahs without collars, but you've got to understand that there is a necessity and a reason for it. Now, strangely enough, there's quite a lot of new research coming out. Would you believe, in big cats, a collar can actually be beneficial? Now, specifically in animals like lions and leopards, collars can actually be quite beneficial. And that sounds a bit strange to say, to have this thing around your neck and whatnot. But particularly when, not so much with cheetahs, but lion, leopard, hyena, if they get into territorial battles or fights with other lions or leopards, their soft areas, their throat and that, which a lot of the bigger predators will go through in a serious fight to try kill the opposition, is protected by a big leather strap and that or the battery bank where the telemetry sits. So that is quite interesting. Okay, I've got just checking for some new questions here. There we go, Butterfly. I hope that answered the question about why the collar. There we go, exactly. The collar weighs about 600 grams and the cheetah weigh between 40 and 65 kgs. A hungry cheetah can easily eat 25 kgs of meat in a few hours. So weight is irrelevant. Thanks, Dad. I'm getting there. And there we go. As I was saying, the collar is required for reintroductions. You cannot reintroduce animals into an area, particularly if they have the possibility of going out, without that. Cat 3, cheetahs have spots, leopards have rosettes. How do you distinguish them from a distance? Well, quite easily. Their body shape is very different. So even though cheetahs are more slightly built than leopards, they are quite a lot taller than leopards. And their head shape is completely different. Their body shape is completely different. And these are all specializations for high speed. So they've got a much smaller, rounded head. And they've got a much longer tail and a much longer body, so they're much more slightly built than a leopard. Exactly, the animals get used to the collar just like a dog does, Gigi, and then eventually those colors will come off after a period. Exactly, Darcy. If the cheetah wanders into someone else's property, and you saw the footage there of where we darted Impy, he wandered through into the next door property where the person is a commercial game farmer. So if he starts eating very expensive animals that have been bred for sale, that is affecting that farmer's livelihood. And because the collar was there, the farmer was able to tell us, we were able to find him quite easily, we were able to dart him and return him back to the reserve. Now, this specific incident, when he jumped off and went through to the next reserve, was due to the fact he got chased by the male lions. So they caught him up against the fence and he jumped through the fence to get away from the lions. So the farmer immediately told us, his collar downloaded, we knew where he was, we darted him, and he was safely returned to the Rietsbreek Reserve. Now that is an excellent question, Kalena. Does it seem like cheetah acclimatize humans quicker than other wildcats? I would say yes, specifically if you're walking and stuff on foot. With wild cheetahs, you can often get very close to them on foot that you wouldn't be able to do with lions, firstly for safety, and with leopards just because they rely so heavily on being camouflaged. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to every rule, and we had that incredible interaction with Hosana and Shongile, the leopard cubs in the Sabi Sands on foot. But as a general rule, leopards on foot, you see them, they'll move off or they'll try hide from you. Whether it's cheetah, completely wild cheetah that have never seen a person before, or them and wild dogs, seem to have a lot less of a problem. They don't try to run away from you as much as the other animals. Okay, I saw Bethany. What do you do if the collar comes off and you can't find the cheetah? Well, now the cheetah ranges within the reserve are pretty much set. We can sort of work out where they're going, and of course we still see their tracks, but they have settled in the reserve, so they're unlikely to try leave the reserve now. They're very comfortable where they are, and their home ranges are set. Now, cheetah home ranges are a very, very interesting thing because they work very differently from the other big cats. Now, in normal big cat scenario, you have a male big cat who holds a territory over different females in leopard's case, or different prides in a lion's case. Now, male cheetah have a set territory that is quite defined, whereas female cheetah have a much larger home range that will overlap with different males' territories. And cheetahs are one of the only big cats in the world where it is harder to breed them in captivity than it is in the wild. They are much more successful at breeding in the wild than they are in captivity. Now, this poses another problem, and there is a very active trade in cheetah cubs, but most of those cheetah cubs will generally not be bred in captivity, unlike lions and jaguars and tigers. They're actually stolen from the wild, and there's a problem particularly in the northeast of Africa, and a lot of those cheetah seem to be going through Somalia as the port of exit, but we will cover that a little bit later. Redstone Prime, what is a game farm? Well, you have different types of game farms. You could call the Rietspruit Game Reserve a game farm to a degree, but it's more of a reserve. It's made up of multiple farms where we have naturally occurring predators such as cheetah and lion that have been reintroduced. Leopard have always been here. The hyenas have always been here. But slowly but surely we hope to reintroduce buffalo and elephant. But again, a lot of these things take time. A commercial game farm is a farm that breeds animals, and specific animals. It can be color variations like black impala, a white impala, and rare species like sable or roan and disease-free buffalo for sale. So they are farmed as you would farm cows or as you would farm sheep or goats, and there's an active trade in them, whether it be for breeding purposes for other farms or for hunting, etc. So it is a commercial farm as you would breed any animal on a farm. That is a commercial game farm does. Now you have other game farms that could just be a nice holiday farm, a game farm that just has some impala and giraffe and not bred for anything. They're just there for enjoyment. Okay. Mary the Lurker Barker. Hi Brent, if you find any animal hurt or sick, do you intervene? It depends a lot on the type of animal. With endangered species like cheetah and wild dog, generally the choice is intervene if they are injured, and if they're injured beyond being able to be fixed, they unfortunately will generally be euthanized. Again, if an animal is stuck in a fence that is a man-made problem or something like that, yes, we will intervene, but in certain other things we won't intervene. Every single situation needs to be looked at as an independent situation, and there isn't a blanket rule. And we're quite lucky in the fact in the Rietspruit Reserve, the management is quite flexible and makes the decision based on the circumstance rather than having a blanket rule. Now you've got to remember the rules and decisions made in a fenced closed reserve are very different from an open system like the Kruger National Park, where the general rule is no intervention unless the issue has been caused by human beings, either a snare or hit by a car or something like that. However, with endangered species like cheetah and wild dogs, the rule is generally they will intervene there because the species are threatened. Liz, how are they use facial spot patterns like leopard ID? No, with cheetahs you normally use the body spot patterns for IDs. So a lot of people say, why don't we use microchips instead of collars? Well, you need to actually scan a microchip. So to check on a cheetah, you'd have to dart it and scan it. So it is not a viable solution for an animal that needs to be out in the wild, because every time you dart a wild animal, there is always a possibility that something could go wrong. Jordan, I've often heard the fact that cheetahs will reach speeds of 100 kilometers an hour when hunting. This seems a suspiciously round number made easy for humans to remember. How accurate do I think it is? I think they can reach speeds of 100 kilometers an hour, but they rarely go that fast, I would say. And I think also a lot of those tests have been done in pristine circumstances with captive cats running on a track, basically. I think in the wild, in ideal conditions, they might hit 100 k's an hour, but probably closer to 90 is the sort of average of what they do. Butterfly, how many cheetahs do we have in the reserve at the moment? We have a male, a female, and the female has 2 female cubs, and we're going to be speaking a bit more about them shortly. So the cheetahs are here as part of the Endangered Wildlife Trust's range expansion program, and it means South Africa is one of the only countries in the whole of Africa where wild cheetah populations are actually increasing. So here we've got Mabai, our wonderful female cheetah. This was when she actually arrived for the first time on the reserve, and she was going into the boma. You can see the Endangered Wildlife Trust stickers there. There's Mabai in her box, and she obviously spent some time in the boma before being released into the reserve, and that's where Impy, the male cheetah, had already been released into the reserve, and they met and bred and produced 5 cubs on the second litter, one cub on the first litter, which we think was killed by the male lions. So there we go. Wium was hiding behind a tree filming as she came darting past. Woodstock. They are trying to stop the sale of wild animals as pets. Would stopping these game farms help that? Well, they're not really selling the animals as pets. As I said, you don't really call a cow a pet or a pig a pet, or some people do. But as a general term, they are animals that are bred for commercial use. And in a lot of cases, whether it be for meat or hunting or breeding, those animals are bred for that. So I don't think the stopping of game farming would actually help stop with the pet trade, unless it's a game farm that's breeding lions and things like that. Most people are after wild pets, would be big cats and things like that. So 50, do cheetahs have similar tree climbing capabilities to leopards? No, they're not nearly as good as leopards, but they do like trees. They are able to climb, but they lack the strength to be able to pull a massive carcass of their similar body weight up a tree. They're not nearly as adept as leopards. Also, their claws are not completely retractable, so they can't get the same type of grip that a leopard would get. Excellent question, Bethany Rhodes. Will Mabai ever breed again? Yes. So once Mabai's daughters reach a certain age, they will be going off to a new reserve to help the cheetah expansion program, and then she will almost certainly come into estrus, and she will probably and mate with Impy again. So we could look forward to more cheetah cubs in about 8 or 9 months' time. Okay, now as we're saying about the cheetah numbers throughout Africa, a lot of people think that the largest cheetah population would be in the Serengeti or in the Masai Mara. However, the largest cheetah population in Africa is in southern Africa, Namibia and South Africa in particular. And also, it's a very important cheetah population because as a meta population, it has the most genetic diversity. And cheetahs lack genetic diversity. It is one of their biggest problems. It is one of their biggest problems that if a disease were to jump into cheetahs, because their genetics, all cheetahs from South Africa all the way through to Iran are so genetically close, you could actually take skin grafts from a cheetah in South Africa and put it on an Iranian cheetah, that if a disease or something got into them, it could completely wipe out the population, because it's unlikely that one of the members of the population is going to have the immunity or something like that. So it is quite an interesting thing. Mumzed, the cheetah expansion, is the cheetah expansion done by HESC at the... No, it's not. The main cheetah people driving the cheetah expansion project is the Endangered Wildlife Trust, who we're very privileged to work with quite closely, and we've done quite a bit of work with the wild dogs with them, and we're going to hopefully be doing some more work with them with cheetahs and other projects they're doing in the near future. So no, it is done by the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and they are, in my opinion, one of the foremost conservation organizations in the world. They've been going for many, many years, and they are a purely a purely conservation organization, and they deal specifically with endangered species, from rhinos to pangolins to cheetahs to wild dogs to riverine rabbits to Pell's fishing owls to, I've forgotten the name of that tortoise now, very rare little tortoises that occur in the Karoo. So they deal specifically with the saving of endangered species and range expansion on large carnivores as well. So they do keep an eye on leopard populations and hyena populations. They've actually managed to start a reserve in the Soutpansberg in to the north of us, which is a very important area for leopards, and an area where leopards have been persecuted quite heavily in the past. Cheetah Kim, that is exactly correct. So for the sake of genetics, you send grown cubs already to leave their mom to another reserve so they can induce new genes into the population. That is spot on, and it's important to keep that genetics flowing. And if we left the cubs on the reserve, they would mate with their dad. So that would not be good for an animal that's genetics are already sort of less robust than the other creatures. Now, I do have a little document here somewhere that has the actual cheetah numbers throughout the different areas. So, and again, they're people considered subspecies of cheetah, but again, these are quite loose numbers. Angola, no one is sure. They think there should be cheetah there, but no one is sure if any have survived. Botswana, anything from 1,200 to 2,000, again not sure. Democratic Republic of Congo, there's possible cheetahs but unlikely. Malawi used to be 4, but of course that has increased, and the Endangered Wildlife Trust with African Parks were involved in reintroducing cheetahs into Malawi. Mozambique, again, no one really knows, 50 to 90. Namibia, anything from 1,200 to 3,500. South Africa, anything from 1,500 to 2,000. Tanzania, they guess around 800. The Mara, and about the same. So, strangely enough, Zambia, 100, but again, that population is under threat, and most of that population is on the western side of Zambia. There is said to be a decent population in Kafue National Park, and there's been reintroductions by African parks into Liwa Plain National Park, although there were still some remaining cheetah that people didn't know about there. So it is a very, very interesting thing, and there's a lot of gaps where we're not quite sure. There's vast sections of land where there could still be wild cheetah living. Now, cheetah are quite an interesting one because they often pop up in places they haven't been, and that's been noticed in particularly the north of South Africa, in the Kalahari region. There have been free-ranging cheetahs that are moving through beef farms and cattle farms, and again, as I said, the removal of lions and leopards and hyenas has created a sort of wonderful spot, particularly in Namibia and northern South Africa, for cheetahs to be able to move through, and because they're too small to take on things like cows, and very seldom will go after goats, and it's quite easy to stop a cheetah eating your goats with having a dog. They're very, very effective, those Aleutian sheepdogs from Spain originally, that are used to go out with it, or go out with the sheep and the goats, and they're used very, very effectively in stopping cheetahs. So cheetahs don't pose as big a threat to livestock as lions, hyenas, and leopards. And because historically the farmers have shot and removed those bigger apex predators, the cheetahs have actually thrived in some of these areas. Pam Landy, I have said that, but inbreeding doesn't really affect cats for 7 generations. That's more of a lion thing. The genetics are far more robust. With cheetah, you have to be more careful. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just having a look here. Redstone Prime, yes. ICUN, WWF, also some of the biggest conservation groups. Yes, the ICUN is actually more of a body that isn't really involved with management, but is just sort of collects all the data and oversees everything. The WWF, yes, is. Now, Endangered Wildlife Trust is on the ground operation in southern Africa. Grant is going to beat me because I can't remember how long they've been going for, but they've been going for at least 30 years, as far as my memory serves. And they are able to target very specific projects, and they've been incredibly successful, particularly if we look at wild dog and cheetah in South Africa. As South Africa officially, and there will be other African governments who claim that their cheetah numbers are rising, but it is a known fact that places like Kenya and Tanzania, the cheetah numbers are actually declining due to lots of different reasons. But in South Africa, our cheetah numbers are actually increasing, and so are our wild dog numbers. There we go, 1973. Thank you, Wium in my ear, or Charles, whoever it was. So yes, they've been going for well over 30 years. So they're founded in 1973, and they've been involved. They're also involved in the vultures and vulture safety. And vultures are also another animal that is completely under threat. All of our vulture species are actually on the threatened list due to poisonings, poachings for the informal trade. Traditional medicine trade. Okay. I've lost my page. I'm going to get shouted at. There we go. Now we're going to take, if you guys have any other questions about cheetahs, please, let's have them now. I'll keep them going. I'll just run through some other wonderful facts for you. Just chat about cheetahs a little bit more. Now, as I said, we're very, very lucky here that we spend an inordinate amount of time with the cheetahs that we are lucky enough to see with Mabai and Impy. And there we go. Cheetahs. Do cheetahs meow? No, they don't meow, but they purr. They're the only big cat that purrs. Lions and leopards and what are our other big cats here? Lions and leopards. Obviously, their hyoid apparatus, that bone in their throat, is cartilaginous, so they can roar or soar. Whereas cheetahs and other smaller cats like African wildcats, caracals, serval, the bone is solid, so they're unable to roar. So they're the only big cat in Africa that can purr, which is wonderful. And we have been listening to them purr magically over the last couple of days. We've been spending a huge amount of time with Mabai. We spent 3 full days with Mabai and her cubs. I actually lost them yesterday at 12, just after 12 o'clock midday. And I was trying to spend the whole day with them, but they went in some really thick thorns down there, and I couldn't follow them because they were hungry and on the hunt. So it's amazing to listen to a cheetah's purr. It is absolutely wonderful. There you go. Mimsy says, I remember sighting with you in the Mara with them purring. Yeah, so it is very, very special. So there we go. Oh, thanks, Dad. For those who are wondering, the Kruger Park cheetah population is the largest inside a protected area, but of course not the largest free ranging. So because it is inside a protected area, it makes it the one of the most important meta population. I've just been visited by a squeaky longhorn. Is there? Oh, he doesn't want to sit still. He's complaining at me. Anyway, as a longhorn beetle. All the lights, I get attacked from time to time. C. Cantrell, the long tail on the collar wasn't on purpose. One of the bolts came off, and when we darted him, we cut that short. Now, Sir 50, there is a wonderful little crossover that you've said to me. Cheetahs remind me of cougars, how they communicate with their own kind. Now, the closest big cat relative to a cheetah is a cougar. And the Americas historically used to have cheetah. Sorry, Vimpy, I'm getting double here. Thank you. What other traits do cheetahs have that other cats don't have? Well, one of the most beautiful things, I think, on a cheetah. Wait, what's under herd?
I might be joking.
It did sound like the cheetah call.
It was very short.
Yeah. It sounded like a female cheetah calling. We're actually going to have a check because she was around here yesterday. Yes, Cheetah Kim, that's what I think we just heard, a cheetah chirp, but I'll have to go double check. So Woodstock, I think one of my favorite things on a cheetah is the black tear marks down their face. Now there's a wonderful story about that, and I can't remember which tribe it comes from, but there we go. Isn't that beautiful? So it is said that there was a lazy hunter, and he was very, very lazy, and he failed to secure meat because he was sleeping and drinking beer all day, and he just watched this mother cheetah catch food, or catch impala after impala after impala, and decided to, and she had 5 little babies, and he then went and stole the babies from her so he could use them to hunt for him, so he could just sit under his tree and drink beer all day. And the cheetah, in looking for her babies, continued to cry and cry and cry, and she cried so much while she was missing her babies that it burnt into her skin, and that's where she gets her tear marks. Now, of course, those tear marks are actually quite useful, as cheetahs being crepuscular and diurnal hunters. The black around their eyes helps them or helps with the glare from the sun, unlike lions and leopards that are mostly nocturnal hunters, have the white around their eyes, so it improves their nocturnal eyesight. So there we go, that's a lovely story. Oh, by the way, the bad hunter got into trouble, and we finished. The elders took the cubs back, gave them back to mom eventually, and gave him a good beating and sent him out of the village. He wasn't allowed to be friends with anyone. Oh, Kalena, can I demonstrate a cheetah chirp? That is 100% a cheetah chirp. We just heard it. I don't know if the mic picked it up. Where's my torch? They're just down here.
It's to the left, dude. It's out.
No, but it's close. I think they might even be where we parked the car. Or on the airstrip at least.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little water hole behind the badger. They might come here for a drink. Isn't that exciting? So then we just had a cheetah chirp live on the cheetah show. You can't script that stuff. So I think what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to try something a little bit different now. Let me get back to my page here. We've got a few more clips for you. Well, actually one more, I think, which I was supposed to do earlier, which I forgot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try go live, but it's going to mean we're going to have to close the show for a little bit, and then we're going to try go live. If she's close enough to the house, right behind the house, we might be able to go live with her. So what we do is we're going to close up the show, but before we go, a lot of you saw this massive fly that we were trying to figure out what it was. It is the biggest fly I'd ever seen in my life, even after living in rainforests, and it has finally been identified. It is the largest fly species in Africa. It is the rhino botfly, and they actually, and strange enough, we'd just driven through 5 rhinos when that fly flew into us at night when we were looking for the lions. So that was very, very cool. And they have their larva stage actually lives in the lower intestine of the rhino, and you can see those little almost like thorns. They use that to hook onto the intestine, so the fly will lay its eggs at the rhino's bum, and then the babies crawl inside and they eat what foods are coming out of the rhino's bottom. But we're going to go try to see if we can find those cheetah. So I'm just a quick thank you, a massive thank you to LED Lenser, of course, for providing all this incredible lighting. We're very lucky to have your torches, which we're about to go use to try find a cheetah. And of course to our Patreons, our super chat sponsors. We do appreciate everything you do, and it is absolutely amazing. So while we get the vehicle ready to go out to see if we can possibly show you a cheetah live on the airstrip here at Boskamp, we've got the Tales teaser. Remember, Tales of Two Mothers comes out, episode 9, on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central African time. But here's the teaser. Bye!